The invasion begins. The Zorgan fleet emerged from hyperspace on the fringes of Earth's solar system, their sleek obsidian ships blotting out the stars. Supreme Commander Qatar Thak stood on the bridge of his flagship, the Annihilator, his compound eyes gleaming with anticipation. "The time has come to claim this world as our own," he clicked to his subordinates. "These pitiful humans will bow before the might of the Zorgan Empire." Xarthak had studied the intelligence reports on humanity, a fractious, primitive species, perpetually at war with one another over their differences. They would be no match for the technologically advanced and unified Zorgan war machine. This Earth would fall within cycles. As the Zorgan armada crossed the orbit of Neptune, Earth's meager defense satellites picked up the incoming threat. Alarms blared in military command centers across the planet's surface. Generals and world leaders were roused from their slumber to confront the unthinkable, an alien invasion. Panicked orders were barked to scramble fighters and ready Earth's limited space defenses, but it was too little, too late. The Zorgan ships, armed with devastating plasma cannons and shielded by advanced graviton barriers, cut through the human resistance like a fusion torch through steel. Xarthak chittered with glee as his view screen showed Earth's fighters swatted from the sky and defense platforms shattered under the Annihilator's guns. The invasion was going exactly as planned. Soon the bombardment of Earth began in earnest. Searing beams of superheated plasma rained down on the planet's major population centers: London, New York, Beijing, Moscow. Millions of humans perished in the opening salvo, their cities reduced to molten ruins. Smoke and ash choked the skies as the Zorgan ships swooped low over the blasted landscape. From hidden bunkers and mountain strongholds, the tattered remnants of Earth's military struggled to mount a response. Artillery and missiles streaked skyward in desperate counterattacks, only to splash harmlessly off the Zorgan shields. Attack craft swarmed from the alien vessels, strafing the human forces with vicious precision. Xarthak allowed himself a moment of satisfaction as he surveyed the carnage. Soon, this world and its resources would belong to the Zorgan Empire. The primitives that called it home would either submit or perish. Yet even as the invasion fleet pressed its assault, the humans fought on with grim determination, refusing to capitulate even in the face of utter destruction. They fell back to strongpoints in the mountains, the jungles, the icy wastes, anywhere they could regroup and continue the resistance. In his arrogance, Xarthak dismissed these hardened pockets of survivors. What could the broken remnants of a defeated species hope to accomplish against the unstoppable might of the Zorgans? The Supreme Commander would soon learn the folly of underestimating human tenacity and ingenuity. The fight for Earth was far from over. Humanity's desperate stand. In the ashes of the world's great cities, the surviving leaders of humanity gathered in secret to plan their resistance. From fortified bunkers and hidden bases, generals and scientists pooled their expertise, determined to find a way to strike back against the alien invaders. One of those survivors was Dr. Elena Sartori, a brilliant physicist who had been working on an experimental energy shield before the Zorgans attacked. With her lab in ruins and most of her colleagues dead, Elena fled to a military installation in the Rocky Mountains, where she threw herself into adapting her research for the war effort. As reports trickled in from the scattered resistance cells, Elena and her team pored over the data, looking for any vulnerability in the Zorgan defenses. Piece by piece, a picture began to emerge. The Zorgan shields are incredibly resilient, Elena explained to the grim-faced officers huddled around her. But they're not invulnerable. My readings show a slight phase variance in their graviton harmonics. If we can match that frequency with a focused EMP burst, it might create a temporary breach. Major Lena Callahan, the battle-hardened commander of the base, nodded thoughtfully. Easier said than done, Doctor. We'd need to get in close to hit them with an EMP, and their point defenses will rip our ships to shreds. Sergeant Musa Haddad, leader of a squad of power-armored Marines, spoke up. What if we could sneak a small team onto one of their ships? Plant the EMP device right on their shield generator. Elena's eyes widened. That could work. If we could take down the shields on even one Zorgan capital ship, it would give our forces a fighting chance. And so a desperate plan was hatched. Elena and her team worked feverishly to construct a prototype EMP device, while Callahan assembled a crack squad of volunteers for the suicide mission. Haddad and his Marines would use an experimental stealth shuttle to infiltrate a Zorgan warship and plant the bomb. As the small black shuttle lifted off under cover of night, Elena watched from the command center with a mix of hope and dread. So much was riding on this gamut. If it failed, what remained of humanity's defenses would be crushed in short order. Miles above the Earth, Haddad and his team approached the massive bulk of a Zorgan battlecruiser. The alien ship dwarfed their tiny craft, its hull bristling with plasma cannons and swarming with attack drones. The humans held their breath as their stealth field wavered, certain they would be detected and vaporized at any moment. But the Zorgan sensors remained silent, and the shuttle passed unnoticed into one of the warship's cavernous hangars. In moments, Haddad and his Marines were out of the craft, their pulse rifles at the ready as they crept through the alien ship. Following the schematics Elena had devised from analysis of Zorgan wreckage, the sabotage team made their way deep into the battlecruiser's superstructure. Strange glowing conduits and thrumming power junctions surrounded them, the very air crackling with exotic energy. At last they reached their target, the primary graviton shield nexus. As the others took up defensive positions, Sergeant Haddad placed Elena's EMP device on the pulsing Zorgan machinery. The bomb hummed to life, its indicator lights blinking faster and faster. That was when all hell broke loose. An ear-splitting alarm sounded throughout the ship as the Zorgans detected the human intruders. Drones and soldiers swarmed towards the shield nexus, plasma rifles blazing. Haddad screamed into his comm over the sounds of battle. The EMP is armed. 45 seconds to detonation. And with that, the human strike team dug in to hold off the Zorgan onslaught, determined to buy the EMP device the precious seconds it needed to bring down the alien shields and carve humanity's path to victory. The tide turns. Supreme Commander Thak was in a towering rage. The news that a human sabotage team had not only managed to board one of his warships, but had breached the shield nexus was unthinkable. Such an affront could not go unanswered. "I want those vermin found and exterminated," he shrieked at his subordinates, "and sweep the planet's surface again, raise their hiding places and slay every last human." But even as Thak gave his orders, the situation on the infiltrated battlecruiser reached a critical point. Sergeant Haddad and his Marines, though hopelessly outnumbered, fought like demons to hold back the Zorgan forces. In the cramped confines of the shield nexus, plasma bolts and flechette rounds tore through the air as humans and Zorgans clashed in brutal close-quarters combat. Haddad and his squad took down dozens of the aliens, their power armor scorched and battered. But one by one they fell until only the sergeant remained. Bleeding from a dozen wounds, Haddad dragged himself to the EMP device. The timer counted down. 5 seconds. 4, 3. A Zorgan soldier loomed over Haddad, plasma rifle leveled at his head. The alien's mandibles clicked in vicious triumph. Haddad looked up at his executioner and laughed through bloody teeth. "Smile, you son of a bitch." The EMP device detonated. A blinding pulse of blue-white energy erupted from the shield nexus, engulfing the Zorgan ship in a crackling wave of destruction. Consoles exploded, power conduits burst, and the mighty vessel shuddered as its graviton shields flickered and died. On the bridge of the Annihilator, Thak watched in horror as the stricken battlecruiser listed out at formation, its defenses down. "Impossible," he hissed. "The primitives couldn't have." But the Supreme Commander's disbelief turned to dread as dozens of human warships, hidden in the shadow of Earth's moon, charged from concealment to converge on the unshielded Zorgan vessel. Missiles and mass driver rounds slammed into the defenseless ship, tearing through its hull and vital systems. In moments, the once proud Zorgan battlecruiser was a ruin, belching flame and debris as it crumbled under the humans' onslaught. Xarthak could only watch in stunned silence as the first of his mighty warships fell to the primitives' treachery. Across the blue globe of Earth, the story was the same. Resistance cells, armed with jury-rigged EMP weapons of Elena Sartori's design, launched daring raids on the Zorgan invaders. The alien shields fell, and their soldiers reeled as the humans struck back with shocking ferocity. In the Rocky Mountains, Major Callahan received the reports with a fierce grin. They had a chance now. A chance to take back their world from the monsters who sought to conquer it. She turned to Elena, the physicist's face haggard but triumphant. "You did it, Doctor. You gave us the key to beating these bastards." Elena shook her head. "Haddad and his team gave us this victory. I only hope their sacrifice wasn't in vain." Callahan clasped the other woman's shoulder. "It won't be. We'll make sure of that. We'll drive the Zorgans off Earth if it's the last thing we do." And with that, the Resistance prepared for its greatest challenge yet. The Zorgans were reeling, but not defeated. The fight for Earth's freedom was only beginning. Zorgans on the run. Supreme Commander Xarthak's eyes blazed with fury as he surveyed the wreckage of his once invincible armada. In mere days, the primitives of Earth had turned near certain conquest into a galling rout. Everywhere he looked, his warships listed and burned, brought low by the humans' infernal EMP weapons. "This cannot be borne," he seethed to his few remaining subordinates. "We will crush these impudent savages, no matter the cost." But even as Xarthak raged, the humans pressed their advantage. Major Callahan and Elena Sartori had distributed the EMP technology to every resistance cell across the planet. Power-armored soldiers armed with portable EMP cannons led daring assaults on grounded Zorgan landing craft and supply depots. In the ruins of shattered cities, small bands of human survivors set EMP mines and traps, luring Zorgan patrols to their doom. The aliens, so used to relying on their superior technology, were woefully unprepared for the humans' guerrilla tactics. Elena coordinated the global resistance from the Rocky Mountain stronghold, poring over intercepted Zorgan transmissions and battlefield reports. She worked tirelessly to refine the EMP weapons, making them smaller, more powerful, more reliable. Every gain in efficiency meant more human lives saved, more alien invaders brought low. Under the leadership of Major Callahan and other resistance commanders, the human forces began to retake key territories from the Zorgans. They hit the aliens where they were weakest, cutting off their supply lines, destroying their power generators, sowing chaos and confusion. In his flagship above Earth, Xarthak could only watch as his forces fell back in disarray. The brutally effective human counterattack had left the Zorgan ground troops isolated and vulnerable. Cut off from reinforcement and resupply, they were being systematically annihilated by the emboldened human resistance. A call came from the Annihilator's comm station, and Xarthak strode over, mandibles clicking in agitation. On the view screen was the ashen face of a Zorgan field commander, his exoskeleton scorched and cracked. "Supreme Commander, we must withdraw." The soldier chittered frantically. "The humans are everywhere. Their EMP weapons are too powerful. We've lost contact with the other landing zones. We can't." The transmission cut off in a burst of static, and Xarthak slammed his clawed fist into the console. He whirled to face his bridge crew, eyes blazing. "Unacceptable," he shrieked. "I will not be defeated by these primitive scum. Prepare the Annihilator for orbital bombardment. We will burn their cities to ash and slay every last human." But before the Zorgan crew could carry out their commander's apocalyptic orders, a new alert sounded through the flagship's halls. Proximity warnings blared as a swarm of human strike craft, armed with the dreaded EMP cannons, streaked towards the Annihilator's position. Xarthak could only watch in stunned disbelief as the tiny human ships effortlessly evaded his vessel's point-defense guns. They wove through the counterfire with preternatural agility, as if guided by some unseen hand. The Supreme Commander had a moment of horrible realization. The humans had cracked the Zorgan cyber warfare codes. His ship was defenseless. The human fighters unleashed their EMP warheads, and the Annihilator convulsed as its shields shattered and systems went dark. Consoles exploded across the bridge, hurling Zorgan crew members through the air. Thak clung to his command throne as his flagship listed, burning and broken. On the planet below, Major Callahan and Elena Sartori watched with grim satisfaction as the Annihilator fell from the sky, trailing fire and debris. The Zorgan invasion had been broken, but even as they savored their triumph, a new transmission came in, a message that would shake the victorious humans to their core. Aftermath and revelation. In the days following the fall of the Zorgan Armada, humanity emerged from bunkers and strongholds to confront the new reality. The great cities lay in ruin, millions had perished, but against all odds, they had emerged victorious over an alien foe that had sought to conquer and enslave them. Major Callahan and Elena Sartori stood amid the wreckage of the Rocky Mountain base, coordinating relief efforts and the ongoing mop-up of Zorgan holdouts. The suddenness of the peace was almost jarring after the desperate struggle for survival. As they worked, a comm officer approached, his face grave. "Major Doctor, we've received a transmission from the Zorgan flagship. You need to see this." In the base's command center, Callahan and Elena gathered around a flickering viewscreen. The image resolved into the battered visage of Supreme Commander Thak, his once proud exoskeleton scorched and broken. "Humans of Earth," the alien rasped, "you have proven yourselves formidable. Your ingenuity and tenacity are to be commended." Callahan's eyes narrowed. "Spare us the flattery, Thak. Your invasion has failed. Surrender now, and we may show mercy." The Zorgan commander shook his head, a strangely human gesture of weariness. "You mistake my purpose, human. I sent this message not to surrender, but to warn you." Elena leaned forward, her brow furrowed. "Warn us? Of what?" Thak's mandibles clicked in a bitter approximation of a laugh.